He also won he had 3 grand finals in the first 5 years, and 2 premierships, and that sort of speaks for itself. And he's still. I saw him about 6 months ago at a 50th birthday party that I went to, and he's always the perfect gentleman and a great character, and I think he's doing wonderful things there at Geelong as a football manager now.
Neil Barn. Our guest here is Rick Neagle of Norwood, and with Mike Sexton and Lincoln Tyne here on the evening show. Rick, you've gone on to be, like David Holst before you, who played first. Glenelg, I beg your pardon. He's a very fine fellow. I was just talking to him the other day. I have great admiration for David.
He also played in the 82 grand final for the Bays.
Oh, there you are. Oh.
Yeah, he was in that game.
He was a former president of Dignity for Disability, which you are now. When did you inherit that mantle?
Well, actually only about... would it be two months ago, because Paul Collier was president of the party, and I was secretary, public officer, and also a candidate in the seat of Nord locally for our political group. And with his death, 2 or 3 weeks prior to the election, there was no president at that time, and after Kelly Vincent was elected to Parliament, we obviously had to put our constitution in place and rewrite it, and I was voted in as president, which wasn't difficult to do because it was just myself really that was the party at the time, and there was a few committee members that were recruited, and we've now got a board in place and looking forward for the next 8 years.
And to supporting Kelly.
We are indeed. Look, Kelly's got 2 staff advisors now, a media and a research assistant, and they're looking at helping her directly inside the parliamentary office, but behind the scenes there's a lot to do in running the party and looking forward towards standing people in the next election, and perhaps not this federal election, but the one after that. So, so we're looking forward towards that.
Paul Collier must have been I didn't ever meet him, but he must have been a very impressive person. People speak so glowingly about him. Was there a charisma to him, or was it a vision to him? What was it that impressed you?
I think for Paul, the thing that impressed me the most was his intellectual property of the game, if you like. He knew so many people in disability sector, and he had a fantastic language, fantastic ability to communicate at that level for the politicians, and I admired him for that in particular.
He was also he was disarming. He was a very charming man. He never complained, and he had this huge smile and it just melted. And he was just a very charming person. He was a happy person.
He was indeed, yeah.
Yes, and that came across. You were glad to be with him, and these are rare gifts, I think. He was a wonderful man. One
of the things, too, was his wit. He was very quiet. He made me laugh from time to time with some of the comments he used to make, and that comes with his intellect and his charming wit. So.
And he did a lot of good work, and Kelly follows in that. Your son, Mitchell, is autistic.
He is.
At what age is he, Rick?
He's now 10.
And this must be very difficult. I mean, it must also be very loving, because you must get a lot from Mitchell, of course. But it must be difficult. Tell us about it.
Yeah, Mitchell's... The beauty about Mitchell, and in his particular case, his autism, and everyone's autism is different. Some children with autism are quite removed from the world and highly disabled in terms of intellect and their motor abilities. He's still in a severely disabled type environment himself, but he's got an enormous amount of emotion. He's very happy and he's connected to the world. So for me personally, he gives a lot, and he shows a lot of emotion, which is unusual for a child with autism. And I think that's the thing that I can highlight that gets parents down. When you've got a child that doesn't show emotion, who has a disability, it's very quite difficult, because you give a lot and you don't get much back in return.
Of course, yeah.
So it'd be fair to say that both my wife and I, and we're not any longer together, but she and I co-parent Mitchell and our other child, Taylor, who's 13, and we would both say that we get a lot back from him. So when you give him a lot in that way and spend a lot of time with it, it's quite rewarding.
It doesn't test love, because you would find it's a different kind of love, isn't it, Rick?
Well, I think any child, it's unconditional love too, isn't it? And I think with Mitchell, because he's so blessed with this condition, it's hard to explain, but you're connected to him in a different way than your other children, I guess. My relationship with my daughter is quite different, obviously, than the one with Mitchell, and it is quite unique. And yeah, I'm blessed.
What sort of care does Mitchell require, Rick?
He goes to a school called St. Patrick's Special School, which is around the corner from where I live in Dulwich, and the care there is one-on-one, basically, with OTs and speech pathologists and SSOs and the like. So it'd be fair to say, still at the age of 10, to walk down the street and not hold his hand tightly because he might run across the road, still spells the fact that he needs one-on-one care. So he's not independent as such. He tries very hard to communicate, which he does, and he loves everyone. So we go down to the Dulwich Bakery and he says hi to everyone. He goes, hi. Speaks to them and has a chat in his own little language, and everyone in the community embraces him and loves him dearly.
I'm always impressed with parents such as yourself, because there's so much energy bringing up kids. It's such an exhausting process, and I'm sure there's a greater challenge for you and your wife as well. I mean, how do you find time to have anything to yourself, or do you find that every day is just you just take one day at a time? How does it work?
Well, I think the problem in the disability sector and the whole caring for a child with a disability, I take autism out of it because, in fact, Mitchell, I mean, it's not easy, but I see a lot of people out there troubling a lot harder with this sort of issue with severely disabled children who need total care. And it can be demanding on the relationship and the marriage, and 8 to 9 out of 10 marriages or relationships break up. Mine has as well. But I suppose on the positive side is that it's now 1 week with one partner and 1 week with the other, and we both give the necessary energy and have a bit of a break too, whereas before it was quite full on with Mitchell.
As I remember, Dignity for Disability started over the whole issue of respite. There was a sort of a bun fight with the government over the respite issue, and that I think was the genesis of the political party and the whole movement, which has been a very successful one, because it's a focus, I think, and it has brought just that. It has brought dignity for the issues associated with disability, which are many and various, and the fact that you need a break, Rick. I mean, your situation is different to many, but you get a break. But people don't, do they?
No, look, and there's some too that one of the other partners disappeared totally off the planet as well, which happens unfortunately, and usually I would be fair to say it's the mother of the child that ends up caring for the child with a disability, and I look at their lives and it's grueling and it's tedious and it's tiring, and they still turn up to bat every day, which is a credit to them. Respite is a big issue, and it's one of the many issues in disability, and David Holst from Dignity for Disabled, as it was called formerly, was campaigning on the back of unmet need and accommodation support services. So you're quite correct in saying that. But disability is far-reaching. It's everywhere for us. So we're looking forward to trying to right this problem in Parliament now that we've got a voice in Kelly Vincent, who's strong there for us.
Yes.
It's going to make some change.
Rick Neagle is our guest here on the football panel with Mike Sexton and Lincoln Tyner, a forward Norwood star, and he's talking about his role as the parent of Mitchell, who has autism. Is it a different relationship to Mitchell than you have with your other child, Taylor?
Well, Taylor's now 13, and she's literally independent, I guess, in some ways, and she comes now for advice and guidance more than anything. So, and we've got a beautiful relationship, and it's not easy, but it is easy in many ways. So, and she's grown up with Mitchell as well, as in some ways being a bit of a mother, which has to happen, unfortunately, in this situation.
Sure.
So, our relationship is blessed there too. With Mitchell, it is still demanding, it's still full on, and he needs a lot of attention. And again, as I said to you before, it is fine now because you give him as much attention. He's at school, getting a lot of OT and speech and support. And that school there at St. Pat's is one of the best schools in the world. I can't tell you how great it is.